Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome one and all to this, the Cult Movie Podcast, Cult Potato. As always, I am your host, Campion. Joining me is my ever-faithful co-host, Mr. Grady Hooker. How's it going?
Hey.
Hey.
I'm shocked. You're like, I've got an intro prepared and then I didn't get insulted.
Well, maybe the intro's still going, but you're just in the pitch dark about this.
I feel like he's making reference puns. But
I figured that for this episode, I'd set up a little game, so you just have to figure out what the theme is over the course of the episode.
okay.
Yeah.
You're scaring me.
Alright, so, Grady, hit me fast and furious. What is the film we're covering today?
I already figured out the theme. It is The Iron Giant.
I shouldn't have gone to the Fast and Furious first. That should have been my last port of call.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious once you gave me that one.
I had a bunch more, now I've just ruined it. Alright, Grady, what are we doing today?
The Iron Giant, 1999.
Yes, seminal animated classic, considered one of the all-time animated greats, directed by Brad Bird, who is a fantastic director who has done a lot of critically acclaimed animated works. Everything from The Incredibles, Ratatouille. Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff. He's done quite a bit of stuff for Simpsons. He's worked in Pixar for a while. I think he also did a few of the Mission Impossible movies.
Not 100% sure on that. I just know he's done a whole lot of animation, as you say. You've listed a couple of the biggest ones there. Great director, great everything.
Yeah. And yes, I absolutely adore this movie. It's I'm pretty confident saying I'm pretty sure you like this movie as well. Although, at least that's the vibe I got previous to watching it for this episode. I'm not sure whether or not your opinion has changed now.
That's funny, because I've never seen this film before watching it for this podcast episode.
Really? I had gotten the exact opposite impression.
Look, we threw out the formula, Campion. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen any of these movies from the animation season. And probably not many of the ones that I've scheduled after this either.
You haven't seen... Okay, that's surprising. You haven't seen The Iron Giant? Alright, I gotta know. What was... Okay, as a first-time viewer, what was your impression of this movie?
It was a good, heartwarming family movie. There was clearly a lot of undertones that showed it was from the 90s. A lot of Red Scare stuff. And yeah, overall, although I enjoyed the movie, you were correct about that. But yeah, it was just general good. Like, when you list the other films like Ratatouille and The Incredibles, I'd put them in that same category of just good family animation.
Yeah. Like, Brad Bird has done a lot of, like, he's really good when it comes to family films. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's like his forte. And because I'm looking at his work, he actually hasn't directed a whole lot. Yeah, I think The Iron Giant looks to be his like first feature film that he's actually directed. He's worked on stuff like Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Cars, but that's a lot of smaller work. He voiced Edna Mode from the Incredibles movie, which I did not know. That is a first for me.
Look, I guess you might as well want a bit of a cameo yourself.
Yeah, he also played the monorail announcer from Jurassic World, which is also surprising.
I fully thought you were about to tell me it was the monorail song guy from The Simpsons.
No, that was someone completely different. I think the song was written by Conan O'Brien, although I'm pretty sure he didn't actually voice the guy. Now I'm gonna have to look that up.
You're just looking up who voiced the monorail guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah, I think it was by like one of their like. Yeah, Conan O'Brien wrote it. Phil Hartman, that's it. I knew it was someone like really, really well known. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure. I think Phil Hartman passed away a while ago. Yeah, 1 year before this film came out. Huh, it's weird how that works out.
But if we're looking at the Iron Giant, I have 2 whole notes for this movie. Right, I have we like Dean, and screw this. Oh, yep, screw this Kent word I'm not going to say on the show.
Yeah, I'm blank because whenever I hear the word name Kent, I think Kent Brockman, and I know that isn't his last name because tying it back into The Simpsons. That's another Simpsons. We're getting a lot of Simpsons times in this episode, but that's this guy from The Simpsons and Mansley. That was his last name, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really did not like him, but I really liked Dean. To me, those were 2 very opposite characters. Dean, lovable guy. You could see the twist coming from the first second he came on or not the twist, I guess, the ending coming from the first second he was on the film, and Kent made me want to throw him out of a 6th-story building.
Yeah, Dean, the cool, happy, beatnik kind of guy.
Yeah, I didn't see the art stuff coming for sure, but the getting together with Hogarth's mother at the end was foreshadowed pretty heavily.
And I believe he was played by Harry Connick Jr.?
He was, yes.
Okay.
Look, you remember some cast members.
I do. It's because I love this movie, Grady. I know a lot of things about this movie. And on the re, because as a kid I liked it because giant robot, kid gets a giant robot, that's really cool. But then on the rewatch, I'm just like, wow, this is actually just really, really well written and really smart and a lot better than a kid's movie has any right to be.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They do make a lot of you can't fault the story beats and the pacing and everything. But as an adult, you definitely appreciate a lot more of the Red Scare, a lot more of the anti-gun, anti-military kind of stuff that's in there that I imagine went over your head.
Military?
Based on the Red Scare stuff as well, I may be inferring that portion.
Yeah. The Red Scare stuff I took more from the fact that this was the 50s, and that was a big, scary thing, because I think the Bay of Pigs was a decade out at this point, so, the whole impending nuclear holocaust was a very real fear for a lot of people then. And it's kind of insane to think that fear ever went away. You think that the idea that the world could just spontaneously end in a nuclear hellfire, you think that fear would stay, but apparently we just got used to it over time.
Then we'd never get to watch our next movie.
Yeah. And, okay, so we're saying Dean's your favourite character, correct?
Yes.
Because I think for me it's fairly obvious which character is going to be my absolute favourite in a film called The Iron Giant.
Yeah, you like giant robots for anything anyway. That's cheating.
Yes, I do. My favourite is, unsurprisingly, the giant robot.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure all 4 films of this animation season are set up for you. They're giant robots, they're films you wanted to watch, again, like Secret of NIMH, or the future ones are also ones you want to hit up as well.
Yeah, high fantasy, that kind of stuff. It's just... Yeah, it's almost as if I got this month and you get the next month. But
look, spoilers. I'm just going to lean back and I'm just going to let you just rave about what you like about this film for a little while.
Yeah. Well, for starters, the giant himself, as a kid I liked him because he was a cool giant robot, but as an adult it's just actually, even though he doesn't really say a whole lot, the giant is a really, really well-written character. He is just this big kid he's a big kid who happens to be incredibly destructive, unintentionally, and he's trying to kind of muddle his way through that. And, the friendship he has with Hogarth is really, really fantastic. I love both characters. I think they're both very, very well done. And even though Vin Diesel, they got Vin Diesel for this movie to play the giant, and he does a fantastic role, which would lead to a lifelong career of voicing animated characters who don't say a lot.
Yeah, I did not know it was Vin Diesel until I opened up IMDb just before we started recording, and that was
Yeah.
immediately where my thought went, was like, man, was this the performance they saw and were like, we need this guy for Groot?
Yes, exactly. Because because I know Vin Diesel isn't known as the best actor, but something that he's really fantastic at doing is getting a lot of emotion out of very, very little. I think you give him long extended dialogue scenes, I do think he tends to falter, but you give him just like little tiny snippets, and I think he can take that really far.
It's all
Like
about the family.
yeah, like that. Like that scene at the very end, where the Giants where he repeats Hogarth's words back to, I stay, you go, no following. That gets me. If that still gets me as an adult every time, I'm just like, oh goddamn.
It was
Oh
definitely rough for sure. Like,
yeah.
you could tell that the Iron Giant was about to sacrifice himself, but hearing him say those words, yeah.
And then when he's flying up the thing, he just sees Superman. I'm like, oh god damn it, no, no, he's too good for this world. Yeah.
They did give you a little bit of a cop-out ending at the end, so, maybe it's not over from 1999.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but it did feel like a studio mandated kind of thing. It's like, no, the Giant, he's fine. He's fine.
I guess that's the balance of having it be a kids movie, right, or a family movie, because you can't have your big main die and just the film end and there be nothing more.
Yeah. And yeah, I also I adore the Giant's design. It's really, really goddamn good. Because it doesn't look explicitly alien, but you look at it and it just seems very out of place, like not out of this world kind of thing, but you can tell like it just doesn't really fit in or belong, but it still works really well with the art design aesthetic they've got going on.
It was a little confusing at the start. I don't know, his proportions seem to change for me almost during the film. Like,
oh no, it does. That is a noted problem with this film.
Okay.
The giant's size changes from scene to scene wildly, depending on what he's doing.
I thought it was weird, right? Like, at the start, like, we see him compared to a boat, and then we see him with, like, Hogarth in his hand, and then we see someone standing next to him, like, the height of his leg. And I did wonder if his size is all over the place. It's good to know that I wasn't going crazy.
No, you're not. It's all over the place.
So there you go. That's my only complaint. Can't keep the giant size.
No. Yeah, because I'm looking at pictures of this, and it's like, because there were, there's a scene where he's able to pick up Hogarth, and he fits Hogarth, and Hogarth takes up nearly his whole hand, but then, he picks up an entire car, and the car neatly fits into his palm. it does kind of go all over the place.
Yeah, it's. I only noticed it because I was watching it for the podcast, so I was sort of watching it with, I guess, a critical eye to a point. If I was just leaning back and just chilling out and just watching it, I don't think it would have mattered at any point. Like, it doesn't ruin the film because he picks up a car and the car fits in his hand. And yeah, there was, in terms of the story of the giant as well, just how he arrived, it was just like a meteor-like thing. And even, I don't know, maybe I missed something, but even up to the end, it wasn't truly really explained, other than alien technology, probably, kind of, maybe.
Okay. That's sort of where it differs in the version that I watched. Because in the original, it was left pretty mysterious. It's clear that he's not from Earth, but it doesn't really explain what his purpose is. And I remembered watching this as a kid, actually. There's actually a deleted scene which shows like the giant's dream, where on Dean's television it sort of picks up signal from the giant's dream, which shows that it shows him and a bunch of other giants like as invaders for like another world, and they're really destructive, and you get like an early peek at the giant's battle form towards the end. And they had an updated release in 2015, I want to say. that it came with a special edition where they added two scenes: the giant's dream and an extended scene with Dean and Hogarth's mother having like just like an intimate conversation.
So when you asked me earlier what version I watched, I'm going to assume that is the original version.
Yes, you watched the original version. I just wanted to watch the updated version because I'd never seen it. You know, it's a film I've loved since I was a kid. I wanted to see what they'd added. And the scene between Dean and, what was her name? Annie, Hogarth's mother. That scene I felt like was really fantastic. That was a great ad because it's just like a really, intimate scene between these two characters. It hints that it definitely does it strongly hint that they're going to end up together, other than, because at the end it's just like, oh, why are they together? She liked his art, I guess, but this does give them like a bit more weight to their relationship at the end. Whereas the giant's dream I felt was pretty unnecessary. I thought it was cool as like a deleted scene as a kid, but it's just, I think keeping the giant's origins a complete mystery and like what he's for I think that was a lot better. Even though it is implied that he's like a war machine because that scene where his he gets attacked and all his body opens up and all of these weapons and stuff jump out of his body. It's an implication, but it wasn't explicit, and I think that worked a lot better in the original.
Yeah, I think with you like explaining what you saw obviously in the extra scene, I do feel like it was better not knowing, especially for that reveal at the end, when he does sort of start pulling out all of these weapons and everything. You could tell he doesn't like, or not that he doesn't like guns, but I guess that guns sort of trigger him into an angry mode, and you'd seen a couple of things, but nothing like him going full on beast mode.
Yeah, because it was a defensive thing for him. Yeah, and can we just talk about the Giant's battle form design? I adored that as a kid. I loved it so much, especially that part where his chest opens up.
It's a robot.
Yeah, it had that giant cannon. It's just like it's supposed to be horrible. It's like, oh no, this is supposed to be like anti-war and anti-violence and all that. But why did they have to make the big violent robot look so damn cool? It's like the same problem Gundam has, where it's just like, war is horrible. Yeah, it's terrible. Look at us fighting this horrible war with these really cool giant robots that you can buy on store shelves for $40 a pop. But it's horrible. Ooh.
Fair, yeah. It's a funny one. But I think everything in this film was just so visually appealing. From the character design like that all the way through. So I don't know how you would have really made that so disturbing. I guess the only way to do it would have been to sort of take it off genre almost and just make things a lot sharper and scarier, but that's not kind of the point. You can get the point across to the viewer without needing to do that.
Yeah. And it isn't so much a complaint, but I do find it funny that quite a few anti-war things do tend to have really, especially science fiction, tend to have really cool-looking fantasy war machines. It's just like, god damn it.
Yeah, and for me, the part I liked most about the giant, like if I was going to just sort of lump everything giant-y together in one big pile, the thing that stands out the most to me is that sort of pulling himself back together that he does a couple times. Not talking about the ending, but other than being a cool feature, I think it really allowed for a lot of just fun little moments, like the hand crawling around the house. And not going back, and him just lifting the whole barn up to let some of his pieces in, and I really liked that piece where we were sort of exploring around what the giant can do, and just seeing, I guess, the full extent of his power.
And yeah, I'm trying to find more things to criticize, but it's really difficult because it's a really, really good movie. Because it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's animated absolutely brilliantly. This was on like the sort of tail end of the 2D animation thing, where not immediately after this, but Toy Story had come out recently, I think. Let me just quickly double check that. But
96, I
Pixar
think,
was
for
on
Toy
the
Story.
rise. Yeah, and they were starting to really shift into a 3D animation. So I do kind of see this as one of like the last great it's like one of the last great 2D animated films to come out. Well, excluding Japan, and this is one of the last great Western 2D animated films.
You got to put so many little clarifiers on it.
I do, and I know I'm missing a few because I know Disney, even though they have mostly switched to 3D, they have released a few other 2D animated films that I'm glossing over, like the Winnie the Pooh movie, which is pretty good, and Princess and the Frog, which is also pretty good. So there's a lot of asterisks that I have to slap on the end there. And to be honest, I'm probably missing a few anyway. So
it's the greatest Western 2D non-Disney film that came out in 1999. You keep putting enough clarifiers on it. And even then,
it's a hybrid because there's actually a lot of 3D animation in this.
Alright, I give up. I was trying to make it.
Isn't 3D, so it's... Okay, so it's like the worst qualifier I could possibly have, but still.
Look, I was trying to give it to you, and then, nope. You just dug your own hole.
Just open my mouth and thought, oh, this sounds nice, I'll say it. Actually, no, it's completely wrong. Just don't say anything.
Yeah, we talked about a couple members of the cast already, and I don't know, this is such a weird cast for me when I look at it, because there's like 9, I think, named characters I can see here quickly on IMDb, and none of them did I, like, recognize the voice of. None of them did I go, like, wow, it's that person. And then I come to IMDb, and it's a pretty famous cast.
Yeah, and then you read the name, and you're just like, oh yeah, now I hear it. Because, like, Jennifer Aniston plays Annie Hughes, Hogarth's mother. And I read that, I'm just like, Jennifer Aniston, she doesn't play... Oh yeah, now I hear her voice. Yeah, and, I play back some clips. I'm like, no, it's definitely her. I didn't think it was her, but it's definitely her voice.
Yeah, and...
I think John Mahoney is the other one.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah, I was just like, John Mahoney, I've heard that name before. Oh, him, yeah. Yeah, that's him. That's his voice. Yeah, the cast really disappeared into their roles in this one, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, it was weird because I knew this film was made in 1999, but it did a really good job of making me feel like it was older. Like, if you just sat me down and you played me that and you told me it was from the 80s, I'd have probably said cool, other than the fact that it's like remastered and better high res and stuff like that. But
and it has a fair amount of 3D animation, which they definitely didn't have that kind of technology in the 80s. But
like, I would have believed you. So I guess the biggest shock to me would have been coming to IMDb and seeing what I'd call like a semi-modern cast, with Harry Connick Jr., Vin Diesel, Jennifer Aniston, John Mahoney, and people like that. And those are people who are mostly still around doing big things, and I don't know, I just sort of expected it to be kind of like Secret of NIMH, where like there was almost like, no one.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 names. Yeah, it does tend to happen like that with a lot of obscure animated movies, is that it's just like, it's like a couple that and the rest didn't really do much. But here it's like, it's pretty much most of the cast, I think, went on to do a lot of other things. I think the only one I'm not sure of is the guy who plays Hogarth, who I will just click into his IMDb to see if he's done anything else.
He looks like a Nickelodeon star to me, personally, in his picture.
Well, he was in American Pie 1 and 2, so that's something.
That is surely something, yes.
Oh, he was in The Zeta Project. I love that movie. I love that show.
There you go.
Do you know that show?
No, I have no idea.
No one does. It's a very obscure series. It was like the sister show to like Batman Beyond, or Batman of the Future, it was called in our country.
Look, I know this podcast is about slightly, sometimes maybe obscure cult movies, but come on. You're pushing your luck here, buddy.
Oh, he played Stifler's younger brother in American Pie, so there you go.
He did some stuff. He's not Jennifer Aniston or Vin Diesel, but he did some stuff. So I feel like you came into this and you were like, I watched this as a child, I'm rewatching this as an adult, and you've talked about liking it both times, but was there, I guess, anything that particularly stuck out to you as different, or was just so overtly, maybe not mind-changing, but maybe changed your opinion on a piece of this film or anything like that?
Oh, it's something that really changed me. Like, it's difficult to say because there's a lot of things in this movie that I absolutely love as a kid that I still love now, but sometimes for different reasons. But I suppose the biggest thing that stands out to me is that it's a very, how do I say this? I don't know. It's just a very comfy movie, if that makes any sense. Because there are a lot of, there are. Actually, no. Now, I have a much better one, but I'll continue on with this point before I move to that. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I did watch this as a kid, so it's, revisiting an old movie you watched as a child feels very comforting. But it just, because, there's a lot of really warm colors. The film takes place in the autumn, but it finishes in the winter, so you have a lot of, these gorgeous, reds and golds and stuff. And it's in this, it's in the 50s, and it's a very, even though it is about a giant robot, it still manages to be very grounded, a very grounded family film, and there's a lot of... It's something I didn't really feel as a kid, but I appreciate a lot more now. It's a very inviting film to watch. It's... Because I watched it after I'd come home. I was really tired after a hard day at work, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta watch this movie for the podcast, and it just felt so good to just unwind and watch it.
And then your better point you had?
The scene where Kent Mansley is interrogating Hogarth, and I'm just like, wow, that's a big no-no.
Oh yeah,
that's terrifying as an adult. It's just like, wait, no, and he's like, I didn't get this as a kid because the part where he threatens to make his mother's life really difficult for them. As an adult, I know that's an empty threat. There's no way he could do that. I know it's the 50s and things were a lot looser back then, but there's no way you could do... He is nowhere near in that kind of position of power. But as a kid, it's like, you don't know that. I don't know that he's clearly just the member of some underfunded backwater government department who they send out just to, shut people up and get them off their backs. I didn't know that I didn't know that as a kid. As a kid, I saw this is an adult. He works for the government, so anything that he says that he can do, and it's true. And that's and the way he threatens him, that would be terrifying for a kid. And it's sort of interesting looking at that as an adult. And then he straight up chloroforms him, which is terrifying. A fully grown ass man chloroforming a child, which he's not really. This is just a stranger chloroforming a child. That is scary. That is genuinely scary.
Yeah, there was a lot in that section. All of Kent and Hogarth's interactions were genuinely creepy at times, and it's what made me take the note of screw this Kent guy, because he sucks. He
does suck.
Genuinely a bad human.
And I love that no one else likes him. No one puts... Hogarth's mother kind of does at the beginning, but then, as she gets to know him a bit more, she's like, actually, this guy's kind of a dick. Even the general just absolutely hates him.
Yeah, and he's the quintessential villain, right? Because he's just so slimy, so hateable, and perfect for that role. There was just some, as you say, bits in the middle with the chloroforming and stuff like that where raises a few eyebrows, I guess, of what's this guy doing?
Yeah, that goes out from, he's just some overcautious government dickhead to, no, that's something a psychopath would do.
Yeah, and just keeping the door wide open and staring at him all night. Just weird stuff. Yeah. But that was the villain.
But I gotta say on the repeat, because originally I thought, this is just, he's just evil for evil's sake. He's just a horrible person and there's no real depth to that. But rewatching, I actually did manage to find a bit of depth in there, because even though he is a dickhead, I think the way that he walks around, swinging, his proverbial dick around. He's like, oh yeah, I work for I'm Kent Mansley, I work for the government. First thing he says, and you see him, he's like, oh, I'm not at liberty to say about this, even though he's literally just some random schmuck that they send out to investigate strange things on the off chance that it might amount to something. This is just, it's a nothing job. He has such little power and privilege, and I think he's aware of that. And you can see that whenever he's, interacting with these ordinary people, that he's trying to really lord it over them. Again, his catchphrase is, Kent Mansley, I work for the government. He's just trying to, to boost his ego with this. And, this is something genuinely important. This could be big. Something that that shows that he isn't, just some loser stuck in some backwater office somewhere.
But he is.
Yeah. And in fact, and towards the end, it's like, it isn't so much driven by the fear that this could be something dangerous or harmful like it is for the rest of the military. It's driven by the fact that this is something to prove that he's important, that this is just him just trying to make himself feel better about himself. And you kind of see that in the way that he interacts with the rest of the cast and why no one likes him.
Yeah, it is almost that, I guess, trope of the, just doing that one case that's gonna make your entire career, that you see in a couple different cop films and stuff like that, and everybody's always trying to make a name for themselves, and this was his way to do it, Finally, some rando investigation he's sent off on has a giant Russian robot that wants to kill everybody.
And that's why, and that's why he just ends up nearly nuking a small town.
I got a feeling it would have nuked a lot more than just a small town, but yes, It would have wiped out a significant chunk of people.
And something that's really surprising, especially for a military figure at the time period the film takes place. The general character is surprisingly understanding. He believes that it's that this giant's dangerous because he has, Kent in his ear telling him, hey, this thing's dangerous. But then once it quickly proves that it isn't and that maybe he needs to stop shooting at it and, really get some more information and take stock of things, he actually calls things off surprisingly quickly, which I really appreciated. It gave him a bit more than just... They could have just made him another evil military, hard-ass dickhead. But they really want... There's only really one villain in this film. Which, I really liked how a lot of the cast is just a lot more fleshed out than I gave it credit for as a kid. And this is very surprising for a kid's film, that there's a lot of... I suppose family film's more appropriate, but there's just a lot more meat to these characters than I gave it credit for.
Yeah, I think that's true. Everybody has depth. Everybody has dimension. Nobody here is single note, or at least of the mains, obviously. And yeah, it's an interesting watch. It's a fun film. Unlike a few of the ones we've had recently, I would suggest this on to people to just watch, because it's referenced in so many things. The reason I wanted to watch it because of its references is in Ready Player One, and yeah, there's just so many things where the Iron Giant will pop up here, there, and everywhere. So if you want to understand them, have an enjoyable 90 minutes and go and watch the film.
Nearly everything this film sets out to do, it accomplishes brilliantly. And it's just an absolute joy to watch it again. And I really appreciate it, because there's a few little touches in the 50s aesthetic, especially Hogarth's comic book collection, because I actually recognized quite a few of them. They're actual comic books from the Superman's obvious, but a lot of the other ones, they're actual comic books, and I recognized a few of them, and I thought that was a really nice touch. They showed a lot of love and attention to detail for how they designed the world, and I really like that. I also really like Hogarth himself, because he doesn't have the usual perfect animated character kind of look to him. His ears are a bit big, he's got buck teeth, his name is Hogarth, a name I've never heard another human being have in my life.
I thought I misheard it multiple times until I saw it written down.
Yeah. I think that's why they had it written down specifically so that you'd know how to say it. I also really liked how, because like Hogarth's father is dead. You know, he passed away, and they don't say it explicitly in the film. Like, the only way you can really pick up on that is by the picture Hogarth keeps by his bed. You know, it just sort of subtly implies that his father passed away, that he's no longer around. And I really like that. I remember, because this is the first movie I ever watched the DVD commentary on. And I remember, like, the director and I think the producer as well, talking about that one scene. And they noted about how so many people came up to them and said, "Oh yeah, you know how his father died. I got it from like that one picture frame, and it's something that's always stuck out to me."
Yeah, it sort of brings up that show don't tell story beat, and yeah, it was a good one. As similar as it was to, like, you know, Dean being his new daddy being pretty obvious. Again, yeah, it's pretty obvious that there was an absent father there, and as you say, when you see the photo, it sort of connects the last dot you have.
Yeah, because like if he did, because sort of has the implication that, you know, if he had walked out on them or abandoned them, he probably wouldn't have a picture of him by his bed right there, and especially since it's him, you know, in a military plane, so you kind of get the impression that maybe he died in I guess it would be the Korean War or World War II. No, it would have to be the Korean War because Hogarth is a he's roughly the same age in the photo, I'm pretty sure. So it would have to be the Korean War.
I don't know. I'm typing quickly. Hogarth's father died in what was likely the Korean War.
Okay.
Congratulations, you got it correct.
Yay! My rudimentary knowledge of military history has come through for me once again.
Yeah, Air Force pilot, yeah. I was just double skimming and there's no real extra info there.
Yeah. Anyway, great movie. Would you recommend Grady? Oh, you've already said you'd recommend it. Well, I would also recommend it. Great movie.
You're trying to go through the beats now of the show. You're like, okay, I gotta ask Grady if he'd recommend it, and then I gotta talk about the money it made in the box office, and then this and this and this.
I know. Also, as the last bit of trivia, I'm pretty certain, because you know how the Giant has like those three iron snake things coming off his back when he goes into his battle mode?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure those are based off of the original War of the Worlds movie. I'm pretty confident. It looks just like the little scorpion tail things the ships have in those movies. Sorry.
I'll let you have it because I can't dispute you.
That's because my knowledge of 50s, 60s sci-fi is superior to yours, Grady.
It really is. I would say that mine is near zero.
Hey, you watch The Iron Giant, which is clearly, you know, pays homage and is a pastiche of those kinds of movies. So, there you go.
It's a what to what?
It pays homage to them, Grady. Alright, you want me to hit you with the facts?
Yeah, it's about that time.
Okay, so The Iron Giant was made on a budget of $50 million. Didn't do well at the box office, grossing only $31.3 million. Blamed on a very poor marketing campaign by Warner Brothers, and I believe it had something to do with some of their previous animated failures that they had released a few years beforehand. And so yeah, because of that, didn't do very well. But then once it got to home video and once it got to home video and it started getting play back on cable, did way better. To the point where this is effectively a cultural touchstone, at least for our generation, I feel like. Because as I said before, Ready Player One straight up referenced it. They had the Iron Giant show up in that movie. It won
a pretty important piece of the movie too.
Yeah, it's widely regarded as this classic piece of animation. It won a ton of awards, and as I said before, It wasn't 2015. Okay, in 2015, it got a re-release that was not only remastered, but it was also extended with those extra scenes that I noted in there, to the point where they actually got back all the people who worked on the extended scenes were animators on the original film, which is nice because even though it was animated like well over a 50, it was animated 16 years later, it still fit in perfectly and it looked really nice. In fact, I'd recommend if you haven't seen them, just looking it up on YouTube, because it's really short, but it's really cool to see what they've added, even if I'm not super duper into it. But,
you're super duper into one of two.
Yes. I also didn't mention this, but it was based on a story. Well, it was based on a book, The Iron Man. Not to be confused with, Iron Man. Very different tone to I've never read it. I tried to once. I never finished it, but it's very, very different to the film. It's a bit darker, not super dark, but it's a bit darker. And it mostly centers around the giant coming to Earth to stop an alien creature. I think the space bat dragon angel is angel dragon. Sorry, is what it's called.
First off, that sounds insane, and secondly, that's just way too cliche. I'm glad they did the story they did.
Yeah, it worked a lot better. And it even has a sequel, The Iron Woman. So if they want to make The Iron Giant 2, they can do it. It's about another giant who crashes to Earth, but it's it's a woman giant this time.
Well, they set it up when the Iron Giant reformed itself in Iceland.
The giant had a sex change when it crashed?
No, now you know that there's going to be two giants running around.
I see. So, Grady, final thoughts.
Good movie. Should have made more in the box office. I'd have bought 2 different movie tickets to see it in the cinema if I wasn't 4 years old. Yeah, Dean is awesome. Dean, best character.
Yeah.
And Kent can be thrown out of a 6-story building window.
What happened to him, actually? He was captured by the military, but we don't really hear anything about him after the nuke.
Well, I hope they chloroformed him and stared at him awkwardly. Because that's what he deserves.
I assume he went to prison. There's no way you can, fire off a nuclear missile and not go to prison. I feel like you can't do that.
Probably treason.
Yes. I feel like my final thoughts on this is that, it's a fantastic film, brilliantly animated, brilliantly written. Every complaint I have about this movie is a minor gripe at best.
But the Iron Giant's size.
And, just one thing, Hogarth, he's 12 or something in the film?
Pretty young.
He's pretty young. 9. Wow, okay. For a 9-year-old boy, he is way more emotionally articulate than I think any child his age has any right to be. The part where he talks about the soul and about how it gives a small treatise on the ethical implications of a gun and the nature of the human soul. It's I couldn't comprehend that when I was his age, and when I watched this film, I don't understand how he's the world's most articulate 9-year-old. I'll give him that.
It's kind of the thing that you'd see a Facebook mother posting on Facebook, look at the thing my kid said, and it's bullshit. But in this case, Hogarth said it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Grady, it's enough of the Iron Giant. As much as I love this film, we need to close out the episode and move on to our next one. What's up next, Grady? What's the next film we're going to be tackling?
That next film, if you thought The Iron Giant was a great Western animated story from the 90s, then we're going to be picking it up, flipping it around, taking it to the other side of the world, because we're going to be looking at Akira.
I completely forgot we were covering that. I do not remember week to week what we're covering. If you didn't tell me at the very end, I would forget.
Look, I did this cool intro for it, and you still couldn't figure it out until I said the movie title.
No, I did. I was just like, wait, we were doing an anime next? I thought we were still doing Western movies, but I guess not. Anyway, thank you everyone. That's going to be enough from us for this week. Thank you for joining us here on Cold Potato. As always, I am Campion, joined by my good co-host, Grady Hooker, and we will see you guys next time.
It was Vin Diesel films, that's what you were referencing.
Yes, that's what I was referencing, Grady. I had to cut off all my references because you got it too early.